Hi, I'm veteran comedy performer Tim Harris, also known as Reverend Dr. Tim Harris. That's a title which is rightfully mine by right of purchase. I paid good money to that for that online, so I will use it whenever I can. Same sort of legitimacy as Dr. Hunter S. Thompson, so there we are. Now, how I came to be involved in Code Grey. It's rather an interesting story. Adrian Calear found me working as a prostitute down at the wharves and thought I was exactly the sort of thing he needed to portray some of the depth of human experience in this forthcoming comedy show of his for the 2010 Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
In relation to this show, I started writing it 10 years ago because I had a major life-changing event, and I went from being young comic on the make to essential basic invalid virtually within a month. And then the next thing that had to happen was I had to get into medical world and I had to go and see doctors after doctors after doctors and specialist after specialist who all turned around and said, "I'm sorry, you're stuffed."
There are quite a few challenges involved in this. Not only do I have to be all the medical people who feature in the story that is told in the show, I also have to provide historical depth and scale. So not only am I doing all the medical people, I'm doing Lady Bracknell, I'm doing Empress Catherine of Russia, I'm doing Portuguese explorer Bartholomew Diaz, and also the asteroid Icarus on its closest approach to Earth orbit since 1972.
You're supposed to stop drinking, stop smoking, you're not to take any drugs, you're not to tire yourself out sexually. You're supposed to do all this stuff to maintain your levels of function, which are gone. So I started thinking, this is just crazy. This whole thing, this whole system is just crazy. It's full of very, very clever people who went right through high school without getting a date, who went right through university without missing a class, who weren't very sociable but were extremely good at tests.
My actual experience of the events that the show is based on involved me hanging around hospital beds a lot. Eventually I found the one that Adrian was in, and I restricted my activities to that particular area after observing all the necessary hygiene requirements, constant hand washing and trying not to breathe on him with any filthy bacteria I might have been carrying in, because initially, anyway, he was in an area that was basically hermetically sealed from the outside world.
And so I was starting to write this show called Code Grey about all my experiences in the specialist world, and it was good. Trouble was it didn't finish, it didn't end. And then in 2008, I had put my life back together, and it was just New Year's, it had just gone New Year's, and I put 2007 to bed, and I just really reset my world. I'd changed the way I work, and I changed the way I lived, and I was getting healthier, and I'd really put my life into a good box.
Interestingly enough, Adrian, under the influence of heavy-duty pharmacology, is not really all that different from Adrian under normal operating conditions. It's a testament to the power of the man's mind, I think.
I was watching videos of a couple of my buds, and I got an ant bite right on the scrotum. And I was like, oh, stingies. Give it a bit of a scratch, and I noticed that night my scrotum decided to swell just a little bit. Woke up in the morning, and my scrotum's come up the size of a grapefruit, and I've taken this to the good lady wife and said, check this out, it's all swollen. I think I'll leave that alone. And she said, no you won't, you're going into hospital. I'd caught a flesh-eating disease in my ball bag, and my sac was being eaten from the inside out, and it was painful and swollen, and I didn't know it at the time. It spread. it had gone from my ball bag into my leg. And I didn't know that at the time. What I did know was that every time people were looking at my ball bag in the hospital, they were going, "Ah!"
You know, the fact that one man can have a constant stream of tiny wizened Albanian women coming to his room to pray for a miracle, not for him, but for themselves and their stunted, misshapen relatives, because such is the godlike aura of the man that people are drawn into his orbit.
So I then met a whole heap of doctors. And I knew I was in trouble because there were 45 doctors in this room looking at my ball bag. And I can tell you that it takes exactly 27 minutes to lose your shyness about genital showing. When I was in hospital, everyone wanted to have a look at my ball bag, and it was getting to the point where cleaners were, just, sweep this up and, wow.
There are substantial laughs to be had. There are moments where people may shift uncomfortably in their seats. I think it's fair to say that. There are bits of the show that are a little bit, shall we say, challenging, stroke confronting. But given the man himself and his fine comedy mind, there is more than enough in the way of laughs to put this comfortably in context. So I wouldn't worry.
I got operated on that night, and the long and the short of it was I died twice within that week. So it was the end of 2008 before I was even close to making progress, and by the middle of 2009 I had decided that that was going to be the end of the story. The final bit of this Code Grey story was going to be this episode.
Tragedy, triumph, you'll laugh, you'll cry, you will possibly spontaneously lay clutches of eggs, perhaps more appropriate to some sort of nesting bird, but that's a minor side effect. It may or may not happen. You don't need to worry about that. The whole egg laying thing, forget I said that.
What I got out of the whole experience was I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about the world, and I got into a place where I'm more grateful for everything nowadays, and I also got into a place where I don't sweat the small stuff as much.
I tell you what it doesn't say. It says nothing about the use of ironclad ships in the American Civil War. There's no mention of that at all. So if you're coming along expecting that, I'm sorry, that will lead to disappointment, possibly bitterness and heartbreak. Now, how one man survives an unbelievable raft of medical things, that's more what it's all about, with a lot of top quality laughs.